Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new British Tier 9 Premium Medium tank, the all-reliable Cobra. Now this is the brand new Tankmas licensed tank, similar to obviously how they did Iron Arnie last year, and this is for Vinnie Jones. So this is the Cobra, but with a difference. So in terms of the model, obviously it looks the same. In terms of the armour model, it is the same, but the gun is different. So this is a single shot version of the Cobra, and some of the alphas are slightly different. In terms of the tank, is it a nice tank? Yes. I think it's pretty damn slow, but the camo can be okay, but the gun is actually really nice. The 400 alpha is nice, the Hesh is beautiful. So in terms of using it as a mobile cannon, it is a pretty damn nice tank. It's far better than the actual Cobra that's in already, if I'm honest. I think it's far better than the Cobra. But the Cobra is not a very good tank, but it has that meme in that fantastic Hesh clip. When the Hesh works, oh my lord, is it filthy. But it doesn't work very often. This is far more consistent, has a better 120mm gun, like I say. The Hesh is beautiful, and you've got that 400 alpha. The penetration on the standard round's quite nice. On the whole, it's a pretty decent tank. Is it outstanding? Not really. But is it bad? No. It's just pretty good, right? And you can have fun with it. But is it worth it for the price? I really don't think it is, because this tank is, if we were to have a look at the store, 16,300 gold, or 17,300 if you were to get the Vinnie Jones Commanders with it as well. And the Vinnie Jones Commander is really cool, by the way, and I like the voice lines. But 16,300 gold, no, it's not worth that at all. It's far too expensive for like all the other Tier 9 premiums, it's far too expensive for what it is. You can get better bang for your buck. I mean, for the first 3 days of this tank review being out, that Back in Black 2023 class bundle is still there for the Jaguar Black and the Object 703-2, and that is a far better bundle to pick up, because both tanks are very good, both tanks will make you lots of credits, and you can have a lot of fun with both of them. And you get them for 5,000 gold cheaper than you can get for the All Reliable, which is why I say it's probably a far better pickup for your money. You get better bang for your buck, all that good stuff. 16,300 is very expensive for this tank. But this is for the whales, obviously, who will be like, do I want to buy it? And will it be good if I was to buy it, because I've got the gold I'm itching to spend on it? I do think it is a pretty nice tank if you can keep it flanking, keep it shooting, and just keep yourself at a bit of a distance, because you don't want to get too close in if you can help it. And if you can use the Hesh that this thing gets, oh boy, is it dirty. So without further ado, let's get into the statistics of the All Reliable. It has 950 horsepower engine with a 40 km/h top speed and a 25 km/h reverse speed with a 29.15 horsepower per ton ratio. So very similar to the Cobra. It's got a very low top speed. 40 km/h is very slow, but you do hit it exceptionally easily. It gets up to that. If you were to run the traction system, you could quite easily get up to 44 km/h and no problem whatsoever, because it doesn't struggle to get to that. It feels it's weird. It feels very slow but very nimble in the way it traverses. It's the same as the Cobra in that regard. You got 20% fire chance, which is on the high end of what normal fire chances are, so you've got to be careful that if you do get shot towards the back end where the engine is, you could light on fire quite easily for this All Reliable. You've got 1,600 hit points, which is a good slab of hit points to use for if you wanted to slap some Hesh in or get some AP rounds in, stuff like that. It's a nice, decent amount of hit points for a Tier 9 medium tank. You've got 48 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which, like I say, makes it feel exceptionally nippy, which is weird when it's so slow. You'll get what I mean if you were to play it, or if you've played the Cobra, you know what I mean. It just feels like it turns on a sixpence so easily. Like, it's absolutely rapid at turning. You got 1.9 on soft, 1.1 on medium, and 1 on firm. It doesn't hold back your ability to get to your top speed whatsoever, the terrain resistances. You got 347 meters of steel concealment, which with just the camo skill, I believe it gets down to about 337, I think it is, something like that, which is quite nice. You got 368 meters of moving, or on the move camo as well, which you can get down if you were to run silent driving. It's down to you and how you want to set up the tank. I've got 380 meters view range, which is probably starting to get a bit on the lower end, really, for a Tier 9 medium tank, because a lot of them are running 390 to 400 on the Tier 9 meds. So 380 is a little bit low, but you can still get it to a decent amount if you're to run optics. You can get 44 degrees a second on the turret rotation, which is slower than the tracks, and because this thing turns very, very quickly, bear in mind that if you're trying to keep your gun on target and you turn the opposite way to where the tank is going, that 44 degrees a second will mean that the gun might not keep up with the enemy tank, so just bear that in mind. You've got 1.9 accuracy during rotation, which is really not very nice, and you'll definitely want to try and get this down with gun stabilizer and all the gun perks, and get that as low as possibly can. You've got 13 degrees of elevation, which can be a bit of a problem on a ridgeline, because if you have to look up too much, it can be a bit of a problem. It's an oscillating turret problem in general, that elevation can be a hindrance sometimes. You do have 10 degrees of gun depression though, which is absolutely fabulous, and means that you will be fantastic on a ridgeline. And you do have the fully traversable turret. You've got a 13-second reload, which does look slow, and you can get it down to about 9.5 second reload, something like that, which is decent for the Hesh. If you have the 540 Alpha, wow, that is really good. But for 400, yeah, it's a little bit slow, but it's not too bad, realistically. It doesn't feel horrific. You've got 0.36 accuracy at 100 meters, which is, again, getting onto the derpier side of things in terms of the accuracy, which is why you really want to help this gun out as much as you can. It's not derpy by any means, but once you get beyond 0.35, that's where it's starting to get more and more derpy as the numbers get higher. You got 2.59 accuracy during movement, which is not nice. Well, it's not actually, that's not that horrendous, really, but you can get that better with run and gun, and the gun stabilizer, again, you want to try and do that if you can, because if you don't run something like the gun stabilizer, the gun does bloom out quite a lot. You've got 2.3 second aim time, which is okay. It's not horrific, it's not good, it's just sort of okay. And it does mean that the gun does get aimed in. But if you weren't to, like I say, if you weren't to run the gun stabilizer and all the gun perks, it does feel like it takes a bit of an age to aim in. But on the whole, it's not that bad. And like I say, shots per clip, 1, because you are a single shot tank. You do not have a clip like the Tech Tree Cobra. I want to say that and stress that. You do not have a clip. This is a single shot version, okay? You've got AP, which is different to the Cobra, because the Cobra has heat as its standard rounds. So this has AP. Hesh is a premium. HE is the standard HE, I should say, really. You've got 1848 DPM, like I say, it's not the best. You got 268 penetration on the AP rounds, though, which is beautiful. It means you don't really struggle to pen too much, really, unless you get into the super, super heavy tanks. You've got 210 pen on the Hesh rounds, which, again, for 540 damage is fabulous. And 210 is enough to use generally. Like, with the Cobra, unless again we're talking about exceptionally heavily armoured tanks, I don't struggle too much with the Hesh. And like I say, I will probably meme and go full Hesh on this tank, because I think it will be hilarious for 540 Alpha. It's absolutely dirty. And 210 is usable quite easily in this tier, really. So the Hesh is very, very nice. The downside, clearly, is obviously you don't have a near 300 pen premium round, which means that you will struggle when you come against tanks like Type 5 Heavies, Mouse, E100, that sort of thing. But on the whole, you will be able to deal with most things that you face with these penetrations. And that's it, you have 400 pen on the 268 pen AP round, sorry, not APCR, DOI. AP rounds, 268 pen on that for 400 damage, which is different to the standard Cobra, because the standard Cobra is 360 damage, which is, so you got 40 more damage on this. You got 540, like I say, on the Hesh, and the Hesh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You got 1,020 meters a second velocity on the standard AP rounds, which is okay. It's not, again, 1,020 is not bad, but it's not great. It's just standard, really. Once you're hitting 1,000 meters of a second velocity, I feel like that's like standard, right? That's what you feel like should be a standard. And then once you're getting better than that, that's where it's going, oh, this is good. And if you're going below that, that's where you're going, oh, that's not great. And 793 meters a second shell velocity on the Hesh and HE rounds is slow. So you really have to adjust your lead to be able to hit the targets with the Hesh and the HE. So that's something to bear in mind. And as it is a Tier 9 Premium, its bonuses are, well, it doesn't really have any, because it's more like a standard tank. You just get a little bit extra tank XP bonus. That's it. That's not. It's just that's another reason why Tier 9 Premiums, for the price that this is at 16,000, is just not worth picking up, because that is far too expensive. The only problem with this being old reliable like this is, and it's a licensed tank, is the fact that it's unlikely to come back, or if it is, it's going to be kind of like the Iron Arnie was, where we sold it last Christmas, and then that was it. It didn't come back until Black Friday, so a couple of weeks ago, you know. So you want to bear that in mind, that if you are, like I say, if you are itching to buy something like this, the likelihood is it's going to be very rare that it comes back, so that is something. And as you can see, you've got 215mm of armour on that lower section of the turret, which means that, again, it can, and because of the angle, you can ricochet shells off this turret. You do not want to rely on it. You've got 135 on the top as well. It's got angles, like I say, that can ricochet shots, just like the Cobra. You can, because of the angles, it's that Batchatty type armour where you don't rely on it, but it can just ricochet miracle bounces here and there, which is nice. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Don't rely on your armour whatsoever. As you can see, 125 and 130 on the lower plate. And in terms of the side armour, 30mm of side armour, which means everything pretty much that you'll face, I say everything, near enough everything when you're facing tier 9s and 10s most of the time, will just overmatch your side. So if you're kind of like a machine, if you're kind of like that and someone shoots your drive wheel, they're going to overmatch and pen you pretty much every time, which is absolute pain, and it's something you got to bear in mind. And your tracks do get blown off a lot, which is why I'd run track mechanic myself. But without further ado, let's have a look at what we run in terms of equipment and the commander. So I run, for this tank, the advanced loader, the gun stabilizer, and optics. Optics to be able to spot for myself, because I don't want to be blind in World War II. I want to be able to at least spot for myself and, you know, get assistance and not get outspotted myself. Gun stabilizer, because I want to... This tank is all about this gun, because the mobility isn't that good. It's all about how good this gun is and being able to meme with that Hesh round. So you want to make this gun as good as humanly possible with the gun stabilizer and the advanced loader. And I especially would run the gun stabilizer because I'm going to go full Hesh eventually after this review. But that's the way it is. And the advanced loader, because you want to make your DPM 10% better if you possibly can. Or, well, always. You can, instead of gun stabilizer, run the advanced reload to be able to switch between the AP and Hesh, so when you get that opportunity to run either of the two shells, because that's quite useful. Or you could run the traction system to go at 44 kilometers an hour too. That is something that you could definitely do for this tank. And I will show you a replay without the gun stabilizer, so you get to see the difference in the gun handling. And like I say, I'm not a fan of how much it blooms without the gun stabilizer, and I would rather keep it so I can just get that gun being snappy, because that's just how I feel like I should be running the tank. But it's down to you and how you run the tank. It's down to how you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable with the gun without the gun stabilizer, then go ahead. Go ahead, don't run it. You know, it's completely down to you and how you feel comfortable with the tank. That is the way you should always kit it. Never listen to a scrub on the internet. This is just basically... These are basically always templates of, like, run it with this, see how it feels, and then adjust to your capabilities, to your comfortableness. Comfortability? Something like that. We just made up words. It's the way it is. So in terms of a commander, I run the Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Camouflage Expertise. Camo Expertise to make the camo just a little bit better, because like I said, the camo can be pretty decent, and I'm a medium tank, so, and because I'm slow, I do like to take bush positions every now and then, so I like the ability to just stay stealth for a little bit longer so I can get the shells in. And especially if I'm using the Hesh, it gives me the opportunity to aim for the weak spots with the Hesh a little bit easier. Run and Gun, Steady Aim, and Snapshot, because I want to make this gun as good as humanly possible, especially if you didn't run the gun stabilizer. You want to take these 3 perks if you can. Trap Mechanic, because like I said, the tracks get blown off all the time. I want to be able to get the tracks back on as quick as I humanly can do, and like these 5 perks, or you're going to take these 5 perks on every tank that you play pretty much in World War II. So let's have a look at the stats while it's fully equipped. So as you can see now, your terrain resistances have gone down just a little bit. Your camo's down to 337. Your view range is up to 486 meters of view range, which is lovely. You got 47.78 degrees a second on the turret traverse, so you're actually nearly catching up to the hull at this point, which is good. You got a 9.48 second reload, which goes down to about 9.1, 9.2 if you boost with your food. So you got 2.5k DPM. You got 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters, which is okay. Again, it's not brilliant, but it's okay with everything set up. I mean, 0.29 accuracy is pretty damn accurate anyway, right? But yeah, you've got 1.48 accuracy during movement with 1.01 on rotation of the turrets. That's down from like 1.9, right? Which is really, really nice. This is why you run the vertical stabilizers. And 1.48 again is down quite a lot from the 2.4 or something like that it was. You've now got a 2.12 second aim time as well, which again is pretty good and is quite nice. So that's the stats of the tank fully equipped like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to take off the... I'm going to take off the gun stabilizer and put traction system on just to show you the difference in what happens with the accuracy during movement and rotation. So it does increase by 0.2, well, yeah, 0.25 on there. And it goes up by near 0.5 on the accuracy during movement. Which means that, yeah, your gun will bloom out a hell of a lot more. And again, I've got a replay to show you where... I don't run the gun stabilizer, just so you can see the difference in that gun bloom, and I run the ammo swapper instead. But yeah, that is the All Reliable. It's a pretty damn nice medium tank, realistically. The only thing about it is, for me, realistically, the only downside to this tank, truly, is how slow the tank is. It's very, very slow. But the Hesh is absolute memes, and the other downside is just how expensive it is. It's far, 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 far too expensive, but... it's down to you and how you spend your money. No one can tell you how not to and how to spend your money, because that's only down to you. So without further ado, I'm going to send you over to the replays where you can make a decision on this tank. You can watch how it handles, watch how it plays, and you can decide whether it's worth it for you, whether you want to try it. I do think this skin is really cool. I do think it looks really, really nice. And yeah, you can see how it handles and think, okay, now I've seen the threat that it could be on the battlefield, because you might see a few of these knocking around. You know, see how it goes. So as always, everybody, I'm going to send you over to the replays where you can look at this tank. So here we are in the replays with the Old Reliable Cobra, and this first game is the one without the gun stabilizer. So in this game, I am running the ammo swapper, and... well, it's called the Advanced Reload. I'm running the Advanced Reload because there is, when you do use Hesh, as you can see, we're switching without reload, the Hesh is really useful in a fair few situations, but there's quite a few situations as well where it's a complete hindrance, right? Because there'll be a lot of situations where the Hesh, because it's HE, will just explode. It won't pen spaced armor. So if you get someone's side, a lot of the time you will shoot them in the side and the Hesh will not pen, you'll splash them instead for like 130, and that can be pain. If you have the Advanced Reload, naturally you can just flick back to the AP when you see a moment that you can't penetrate something with the Hesh. You can switch back to the AP and then just pen them for 400, no problem whatsoever, no hesitation. So that's why the Advanced Reload is a very, very handy thing to have, especially for tanks like this that have the two different rounds. And you can choose the round for the right situation. Hesh with 210 pen is one of those that you really have to know what you're shooting at. You really have to know what you're shooting at, where you're shooting, to try and get it to work. Because there's a lot of times where you get a side of someone and you might be able to pen a little sticky outy bit on their engine deck, and that might actually work to pen, but then if you aren't the most knowledgeable, you might not know that, and you'll just shoot them in the side and do a splash damage. So this is why the Hesh isn't always the easiest to use for people, because it's a lot of knowledge about where and when you can actually use the round. But when you do get to use the Hesh, oh boy! Oh boy, 540 Alpha is beautiful, and it really hurts the enemy team, or the enemy tank, when you hit it. And I do use the Hesh a lot. I utilise the Hesh a lot on this tank, because it is so damn useful. It makes your fairly rubbish DPM with the standard AP be now pretty damn good with the Hesh, or the Hesh, I should say. And your DPM actually gets a massive increase, because, yeah, the AP... with using the 268 pen AP for 400, the DPM on this tank really isn't that good. It's, I think, if I'm right in saying, it's one of the worst for 400 Alpha at the tier. One of them. There is a couple. And obviously, like, the standard B is way, way worse than this tank. It's got 360 Alpha and its reload is far worse than this. But it does have a bit of a clip, so, you know, it's one of those things. But, yeah. So far in this game, we're up to 2.1k damage with 533 assistance, and you can see the gun does bloom out a fair bit when you are travelling, and it's actually a lot of the time when you're traversing the tracks, when you're turning the turret and traversing the tracks, the gun does bloom out massively. You'll see the difference in this game compared to the other 3 games that you're going to see. When you turn the tank and the turret and stuff like that, you will see the difference in just how far it blooms out, which means you've got to spend longer aiming. As you can see, it takes a while to aim in, and then you can slap the Hesh round in. 581 on that SU there. Oh, yeah, we like that. So this Yagtai gets spotted at the back. We slap the Hesh round towards his lower plate, and unfortunately, it just goes wide and hits his track and tracks him in place. We do get a bit of assistance on it. And that kind of shot is the reason why I prefer running the gun stabilizer on the old reliable, because I feel like this tank is a lot about the gun, and being able to just snap that shot in quite easily is an asset that you really, really want, especially since this tank, as you can see, is very, very slow at 40 kilometers an hour. So you want to be able to just swivel the tank, swivel the turret, and get the gun on target and be just ready to fire instantly. And it's something that I really, it's really something that I want from the tank, if I'm totally honest with you. So we made the play across their cap so we could get into a good position to try and get some shots into this Jagdtiger and this SU, get the artillery. And there was actually a T-28 at J1 that was like, what are you doing there, bro? And he managed to get a shot into us, but we did manage to get across with the rest of our hit points. Now we're closing in on this Jagdtiger in front of us. He shoots the Earthshaker, so I'm like, okay, you know what? This guy does reload quickly, but I'm going to get time to get the shot into the lower plate. We had barely anything of the lower plate there. I got to a point where I went, he's going to shoot me. And I pulled back and still got the shot into the lower plate. We have most of the lower plate this time. RNG, everybody. Okay, so the first one actually penned the lower plate. The second one went nowhere near. Now we're going for the shot of the T-28. As if RNG, everybody. How did that shot on the lower plate of the Jagdtiger miss? But that hits. Because of course. RNG at its finest. We finished with the Confederate, the first class, 1614 base XP. Pretty damn nice game for the old reliable there, showing that gun handling without the gun stabilizer there, which is why I wanted to show that replay in particular, because it's a pretty decent game. It showed off the tank and what it can do, but also it just showed you the gun without the gun stabilizer. It showed you how the aim circle changes. And I mean, you're now already seeing it in this replay, just from moving about and just from the start. The gun really doesn't bloom out very much at all. If you run the gun stabilizer and have all the gun perks, you can see it's pretty zoomed in already. And this is going at the full 40 kph. So it's nice because the gun is far, far snappier with this setup with the gun stabilizer, because the next three replays are with the gun stabilizer. And it's far, far snappier, and it just fits the tank and how it wants to be far more, and being able to just get that shot in. Because, like I say, you want to be able to have that reactionary ability to get the shots in and snap the gun in, and not have to sit there aiming for too long, because you're not the quickest, you are very, very slow. And you want that ability to just get that gun firing. So we're on Malinovka, and on Mali, I've decided to come to this little position here at D7, because I want to try and counter the guys that climb the hill, or counter anything that tries to take D6. So we get a nice shot there for 341 with the AP into that Turan. We instantly switch to Hesh, because it's a Turan, and I want to slap that guy with Hesh if I can, because he's very heshable, and I like that. So we're just going to sit in hard aim and wait to see if this Turan pokes out, which he does. We get a shot into him for 502. Beautiful things. I mean, that's a low roll as well. So we get a nice roll into that Turan, and we're basically just going to keep an eye on that guy. If we can get rid of the Turan, that will be glorious, because, you know, the Turan is pretty OP, and we do not want that guy's big-ass guns shooting shots into us. We get a shot towards the Death Star there, which only does 140-odd splash damage. That's where it would have been quite nice to have something like the ammo swapper, because we could switch to AP, and that shot probably would have hit and penned, because because obviously with our Hesh as well being slower shell velocity, it meant that it went further forward on, you know, to the front of the turret where it wasn't going to pen, as opposed to shooting the side of the turret where the AP probably would have hit and would have penned. We go for the side shot there on the 268 version 5. We have Hesh still in. I was hoping to try and get the shot in between the tracks so that we'd pen it, but unfortunately we didn't pen the 268 version 5. But we do pen that T49 with the Hesh, and this position is the ultimate counter to what that T49 is trying to do at D6. This is the position that if someone takes it, you are boned at D6. You really have to do your best to get rid of them if you can. I think I mentioned this in a video the other day, or the other week. You really have to get rid of them, because they can just do this. They can completely counter you and wreck your ability to do anything. And there is, again, because of the gun elevation and stuff like that, there's just not much you can do to counter it. the max you can do is try and keep poking up at D6 and just getting rid of them. If someone does take the position that I've taken here in the old reliable, you just get rid of them. Get rid of them as quick as possible, because it's going to be pain for you and you're not going to be able to do too much. And equally, if someone does take that position at D6, don't just YOLO in on the person in D6, because you're probably going to get yourself killed. You'll probably kill them and wreck them, but also you'll probably get yourself killed, and that's no good for you. You may as well just take that position at D7, shoot down on them, you can stay safe, and you will wreck their day, make it so that they're basically unavailable to do anything at all, unable, as opposed to unavailable, and yeah, it's the best position to take to counter the D6 position. So as you can see so far, we're up to 2.8k damage, 1733 assistance. We've managed to pen another Hesh round into that Tyran, which is always beautiful. We're now looking for a shot into the Centauro 45T that's behind us at the buildings, because, you know, from here we might be able to get a shot. We try and take a shot blind, and that shot flew into nowhere. It just went, oh, you know what? Loop! And missed. But hey-ho. Just looking for a shot into the Tyran, but the Tyran is also very, very aware of us, because we've taken most of that guy's hit points. And we do have to be careful, because we don't want to take a hit from that Tyran. We get the shot into the side of that Centauro's turret, 593. Let's go, Hesh! Let's go, Hesh! Beautiful. I do love the Hesh. The Hesh is absolutely wonderful. And like I say, after this review, I'm definitely going full Hesh, because as many times as it doesn't pen, when it does pen, oh boy, it's beautiful. This Marat comes over, gets a big shot into our side. Well, not a big shot. It gets a shot into our side. And we do have to be very, very careful of it. The Centauro that we shot earlier on does get a shot towards us as well. Just looking to see if I could get a shot into him as well there, but we can't quite do it. So I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to try and push around the left-hand side of this mound and see if I can spot anything, see anything, or get some cheeky shots into the back end of this Marat. And as we pull round, we end up getting spotted by the Tyran as he's crossing, and the Marat actually runs away. If we'd stayed where we were, we'd have been able to get easy shots into this Marat. I could never have anticipated that he was just going to run like that. And yeah, he ends up getting himself killed for it, basically, as well. If I'd stayed where I was in that position, we'd have been fine. So this Death Star's coming out for us, and I thought, oh no, he is actually looking at me. We managed to snap the Hesh shell straight through his upper plate for 500 odd, and thankfully for me, the Death Star missed. The Tyran, though, came over and got some revenge, slapped a shot for nearly 1,000 into us there, and he ended up getting shut down for it, but he took our gunner and basically the rest of our hit points. But does it matter? No, because there's only one tank left. It's the Batchat 25T on the enemy team, and he gets shut down by the AVRE. And finished the game with 4,020 damage, 2,378 assistance, the 2 kills, the first class again, with 1,671 base XP. A pretty damn nice game, again, in a very, very tier 10 game, that one, for the old reliable. And even in that game, I mean, we fired mostly Hesh, and we had a pretty nice time. And that is the one thing that you're going to have to expect from the old reliable as well, which is one of the reasons, once again, why I say it's not really worth picking up for 16,300 gold, because that is an extortionate amount of money. And again, you're always better to pick up discounted tanks and bundles, where you basically make the most of your money. Like the Back in Black one for 2023 for the Jaguar Black and the 703 too. Because for 5,000 less gold, you get 2 tanks that make you a lot of money, and they're both very, very good tanks. You want to always maximise the bang for your buck, always. And for just 16,300 gold, it's far too expensive. And that is, like I say, the one thing that you are going to experience with something like the old reliable, and especially if you do what I'm going to do and fire Hesh a lot, it's going to cost you a lot of silver all the time. You're not going to make much silver whatsoever in this tank. The only way you're going to make silver is by not firing the Hesh whatsoever. And really, the strength of the tank and the meme of the tank is the Hesh. Just how that Hesh is, I cannot say to you how good that Hesh is when you can use it. And if you know how to use it, you're going to have a great time. But it's going to be very, very expensive to play this tank. And it's another reason why 16,300 gold is far too much for it in general. But in terms of being a tank, it's better than the Cobra. Because the Cobra is, as I always say in every video I do in the Cobra is really not a very good tank at all. But it's got a meme in the fact that that Hesh clip is unbelievable at times. And you can do so much damage in quick succession if it works. because obviously the gun handling on the Cobra is absolutely horrendous. You got horrendous aim time, and yeah, you got a quite long reload as well for that clip. And the aim time is just, oh yeah, 3.8 seconds or something. It's awful. But yeah, this tank is far better than the Cobra in terms of consistency. It's Mr. Consistent in that way, but it's too expensive. I bulk at that. I really do at the price that it is. But I am a whale, so I've naturally bought it anyway because, you know, I'm a whale, as it were. But yeah, so this game here, this third game of the video, we are on this map, which is El Haloof. We've up to 1200 damage so far. We've just been fighting this little ridgeline here at C2, which is always somewhere I'd recommend to go if you've got gun depression. That Type 4 Heavy, I decided that I wanted to try and track him because we could get some assistance on him, which we did. We managed to pull forward, get a nice shot into the lower plate of that Kranvong, and now that Kran is gone, I want to try and start applying pressure somewhere else if I can. So this Type 4 Heavy is here fighting my chieftain. I'm just trying to maneuver it so that I can get as good a gun depression as possible to get a shot into him. So we see his cupola on top. We're just aiming for the cupola, and we slap the shot with 268 pen AP straight through the cupola there, which is a nice pen. You can pen the cupola of the Type 4 Heavy with 268 pen, but sometimes it will and sometimes it won't go in. So now we've got the guys on the corner. I'm just trying to maneuver it again so I can get the gun depression. This Conqueror is with his lower plate in the air, so we get a nice shot with the AP through his lower plate, and you know what? It's time for the Hesh. First Hesh shell of the game. We want this Conqueror's lowest plate, so I'm like, go on, Conqueror, stay there, bro. I want to put this Hesh shell in. And as you can see, I really have to make sure that I'm getting the shell into that guy's lower plate, and we hit it for 466. That's a low roll. Come on, game. But we switch back to the AP in case he decides to turn away, because obviously if he turns with his side to us or gives us his drive wheel, we're not going to pen it. We might track it, but we're not going to pen it. So we just switch back to the AP, because that's the more safe round to use in this situation. I say it's knowing the situation you're in, knowing what's best for the tanks you're firing. That's always the way with Hesh and AP. If you have that in your tanks, you really have to know what you're facing, what you're dealing with, where you're going to be aiming these shots to go. So we get a nice shot there into the lower plate of the Conqueror. The Conqueror actually shoots our gun and breaks it. So we repair the gun. We're now ready to kill this Conqueror. So we aim for the side of it, and we get the AP round straight through the side of that Conqueror. We're up to 3.8k damage with 703 assistance. Just waiting for the reload to go in. I know now that I'm safe on my right-hand side, so I can now put pressure up on this 7.52, the Contra Carro Mark II, and the Panzer 7. So we get a shot through the cupola there of the 7.52, because that's always where you want to try and aim for on the 7.52, because it's the least troll section to pen, the 7.52. We go for the shot through the drive wheel to pen it, but naturally the 7.52 has a very weird shaped hull, so it's not always going to pen the drive wheel shooting like that. He's fired all his shells though, so we make sure we get the shot straight through his cupola, and we shut down that object 7.52. There's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team now. There's the Panzer 7, which is really not bothered about us, and the E50. We go for the shot that's going to try and track and pen the Panzer 7, but unfortunately we didn't actually pen it, but we did track it in the hopes that maybe we'll get some assistance. I could have quite easily switched to Hesh at this point and fired some juicy Hesh rounds into the back end of this Panzer 7. This is where I do wish I had the ammo swapper, but it is what it is, and especially for shooting this E52. He's not actually AFK, he is there. We get a nice shot with the AP straight through the side of that E50's turret, and he gets shut down by the Chieftain Mark VI. And we finished the game with a really nice total, once again, for the old reliable in a tier 10 game. We finished with the victory, 2 kills, 5.2k damage, 958 assistance, the first class, with the 1766 base XP. I say this tank is actually a really quite a nice tank. It's Mr. Consistent. If you can get used to the mobility, and well, because the mobility is slow, because it's 40 kilometers an hour, it's all about your positioning and putting yourself in the right place to keep this gun singing, because that's how you're going to use this gun, because this tank is basically all about this gun. And for me, it's, again, been Mr. Consistent. So when I'm dealing damage, I've just been consistently going, bam, pull back, bam, pull back, damage, pull back. You know, that's how it's been. Hesh, hesh, hesh. You know, it's just been consistent for me. I've played, what, 15 games in it so far? And it's just been quite a joy to play, to be honest. I have really enjoyed it. And you just got to get used to the slow... Yeah, you really just have to get used to the slowness of the tank, and then put yourself in the right position to be able to use the gun. So we're on the 4th and final replay, and this is the best game I've had in this tank. And we are on Pearl River. And on Pearl River, I've come to the JK line, and we're just trying to get some shots into these light tanks. This LTTB throws me off a little bit with his weird driving. We end up missing the shells on him, and thankfully we just about avoid the equalizer. We're now looking for another shell into this LTTB. We get the shot in, and it actually tracks that LTTB in place, which basically means that that guy is boned, and he gets shut down. We get a nice bit of assistance there. Now the EBR's coming in, we get a big shot into the EBR. I say a big shot. We get a shot for 369 into that EBR there. He's not quite paid attention to us yet. So what I'm going to do is get a nice auto-aim shot again into the EBR. 338? We're not rolling very well against this guy whatsoever. I really do want to get rid of him, though, but there's another EBR in the middle. We try and get a shot into that EBR, but the shot just deviates. We load Hesh, because we could roll high. We could actually get a really high roll and kill this EBR if we wanted to. So now we've got the Hesh loaded. I'm like, okay, Mr. EBR, you're going. We fire the gun with the auto-aim. We should have aimed. We should have aimed, because we missed the... Or should I say, we actually shoot the gun of the EBR. And that one didn't even pen the EBR again. It set him on fire, though, so we get very lucky. And he's out. There goes the tier 10 wheelie boy. We just got very, very unlucky there with the Hesh. Now there's a Tiger 2. We're just looking at him. We do have the Hesh loaded in again. Just looking to see if we can get a shot into his lower plate, which we fire for his lower plate there, and we actually end up tracking it. But they... 2 medium tanks are above us on our right-hand side, so we have to get out of dodge here. We do have a shot into the lower plate of the Tiger 2 again, and this one goes straight through for 475. How that first shot didn't pen the lower plate, but that one did. RNG. It just goes, okay, yeah, why not? But now we're here to help this guy out. The 705A gets a shot into that UDES. We get a shot into that UDES. We're up to 2,097 damage with 922 assistance. We're still firing the Hesh. We've lost a fair amount of hit points at this moment in time. Doing silly things, really. I'm just going to watch now behind us to see if the light tanks decide to YOLO about again and give us a free chance to get a kill into them, but they don't. The UDES 16 gets shut down by the 705A. The T54 has fired at my 705A, so I know that I was going to get the opportunity to get a shot in, and we switched to AP because the Hesh is not going to pen the upper plate of the T54. We have to pen his lower plate with it, and quite frankly, he's side-scraping, which means that we're not going to get a shot into his lower plate. But he is overdoing it, which means he's actually giving us his upper plate. And with 268 pen, we can go through the upper plate of a T54, which is what happened. Now we've got a T44 below us. We get a nice auto-aim shot with the AP straight through that T44, sets him on fire, and he gets shut down. Now there's an SU-130 PM below us. We get a shot in to try and track him in place, switch to the Hesh because it's an SU-130 PM. We can Hesh that. We load in the Hesh for this SU, hopefully get a nice shot into him if we can. He's now a one-shot, so we finish him off. The T-54, unfortunately, does get a shot into us, though, which puts us into the one-shot range for that T-54 if we get unlucky. He does have to high roll, but I decided, yeah, okay, you know what, this T-54 has to go, so I'm just going to chance it. So we go down, auto-aim the shot, slap it through the T-54. That was the ultimate chancer move, because that could have gone so badly, so easily, that was just nonchalant, and to be honest, that could have killed us. That was chancy. We could have died there quite easily. But we got away with it, and we shut down the T-54. We're on to our fourth kill of the game with 4.2k damage, 1100 assistance. And I'm trying to get into position to get the shot into the rear of this Tiger 2. So we get up behind the Tiger 2, finish him off with a nice AP round to the back end. And now I'm trying to get myself towards this little ridgeline in front of me as quickly as possible because they are taking the middle, and I don't want to get shot from the middle if I can help it. The artillery does start to aim at us, so we just get ourselves behind the rock because it is an equalizer with the barrage gun, and we don't really want to take that hit. Now he's fired his whole clip. We are on the move. I want to try and get into a position to get rid of that artillery if I can. We spot the machine on the move, and he's actually charging towards our heavy tank at E0. So I was thinking, oh, goodness me, please, machine, don't come anywhere near me. And thankfully, he's not. I do think, okay, you know what? I'm probably going to get rear shots at this machine. So I'm going to load Hesh, because the Hesh shells are, or the higher damage is going to help us get rid of that machine and help our friend in the distance. So as you can see, we do have shots at this machine. We just have the Hesh ready, wait for him to turn a little bit, and thankfully the shell flies straight in for 542. He's trapped on the other side of this house trying to avoid the 60 TP. We help the 60 TP out and get rid of that machine. Our Pantera gets shut down by the Charioteer. Just going to see if we can get a shot into that Charioteer. We try and get the shot in, and unfortunately, the gun does derp. We have to be a little bit careful here now, because this could go quite badly quite quickly. We're getting detected, which means there's something on our left, and there it is. It's the EBR-105. I'm like, team, please, kill it. And thankfully, the SU-130PM does shut it down. I say we have to be careful, because the things on the hill might be able to get shots at us, and they could quite easily kill us if we're not careful. So I'm just watching the corner to see if the Charioteer will come round, but he doesn't seem to be doing anything at this point. Also got to be careful that the fact that the Equalizer might just be ready, waiting for me to come around that corner, so we do have to be very, very careful here. But we're going to go around and see if we can surprise the Charioteer, because I'm expecting him to be watching the other corner. When we notice where the AVRE is, he's just fired, so we're okay. Get the auto-aim shot for 586 in the Charioteer, and I'm like, oh my god, please, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. No, no, don't do it, Charioteer. Oh, no. Oh, and he misses, and we get the auto-aim shot in to shut him down for our 7th kill of the game. That could have ended so badly for us. We had 2 guys that were in a position where maybe they could have shot him, but I was like, oh god. If we just sat still and said, okay, he's probably going to kill me now, he would have killed me. But we kept ourselves moving, kept putting ourselves as tight to the rock or the cliff face on our left as possible, making it the angle as difficult as possible for that Charioteer. And the Charioteer has terrible on the move dispersion, so it was basically chancing it, and thankfully, chancing it worked. And we shut down that Charioteer. We try and take a blind shot at where that AVRE was, because that AVRE can get shots at us. The barrage Equalizer ends up coming out and spotting us. Thankfully, the AVRE fires and misses. I get detected here. I'm like, oh god, no, I don't want to get shut down. But this is a brain fart, because my brain did. I knew that guy missed me, but I still was like, oh no, don't do it. We should have just carried on and automatically come around to this corner, because we can shut down this Equalizer in one shot with the Hesh, which we do, securing our 8th kill of this game. And the AVRE, sadly, shuts down my 60 TP friend. So we've got to be very, very careful. There is the AVRE. He gets spotted. We're just aiming, making it so that hopefully we can get just a shot, because if we hit him anywhere that's not the shovel, which is, of course, what we hit, we will splash that AVRE to death. He fires at our heavy tank, so I decide, okay, he's fired. I've got the time now to move into the cap. I'm not going to bother trying to get this AVRE. I'm going to move into a position where maybe I can spot him, try and blind fire him. But you know what? We're just going to secure the victory here. We're going to get into the cap, get ourselves safe in the cap behind this mound, because he has to now come to the cap with 6 seconds left. Well, we're just going to cap it out. I'm not going to bother chancing RNG against the AVRE's stupid shovel. And we finish the game with a really nice total for the Old Reliable. The best game I've had in this tank. We finished with the victory, 8 kills, 6.2k damage, 1100 assistance, Ace Tanker, Devastator, Radley Walters, High Caliber, Top Gun, 2,450 base XP, and a really fantastic game for the Old Reliable. This tank has a lot of potential with that Hesh, because the Hesh is so beautiful, but it's just far too expensive. 16,300 is a lot of gold. It's a lot of gold. But it's a pretty decent tank. It's pretty nice. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!